question for all of you is, what is reactivity? And that's something that it's a new term or label that we've attached to dog behavior that has, I suppose, come into the use within this industry. Probably, I would say, in the last maybe 5 to 10 years. It's a relatively new coined term that allows us to describe behavior, anything from the excited greeter to the apprehensive and fearful dog. And for me, therein lies the problem with using a label such as reactivity. It doesn't necessarily give me, either as the owner or the trainer or person that's dealing with the dog's behavior, enough information to be able to help that person and that dog move forward in what they're doing. And that's the thing that we're going to be expanding and elaborating on over the 5 days. We're going to be looking at the main causes of reactivity and hopefully giving you some things to consider to change your dog's behavior. For me, there's 5 core reasons which I'm going to identify shortly, and we're going to focus on each of one of those per day over the next 5 days. So here's a great picture of 2 dogs that probably would be qualified as reactive, or certainly very excited. And Jack Russells are a breed of dog that I'm sure a lot of you, if you own them or have crosses or experience with them, would understand, probably relate that they are dogs that definitely can have some reactive challenges. So for me, the definition is, reactivity is a behavior caused by an external stimulus which results in an inappropriate or unwanted response due to the state of arousal. This may include acts of aggression, apprehension, anxiety, excitement, or fear. The behavior should be of no direct instigation toward the reactive dog. This would be an act of retaliation rather than reactivity. And I want to break that down to you all to hopefully assure you, with those of you that are partaking in this presentation or in this group, about the nuances of what reactivity is from my perspective. So the first thing is a behavior caused by an external stimulus which results in an inappropriate or unwanted response due to the state of arousal. So if we really are honest about what behavior we qualify as reactive, the first thing is that it probably has a lot to do with political correctness and the large misconception about what dogs are versus what they should be. And the relationship with dogs has evolved in the time that we've had them within our homes, from, initially they were a tool for a trade or a purpose, to becoming our companions. And that's a role and a mindset shift that hasn't necessarily aligned with what dogs truly are. And therefore, we have attached labels to define their behavior, such as reactivity, which is an all-consuming way of describing a dog's often very natural, normal response to external stimuluses, which doesn't fall within the category or the heading of politically correct or appropriate in today's society. So when it being inappropriate or unwanted is the other version, it's behavior that we as a society deem as inappropriate for dogs, often is very, very natural behavior. The other aspect is the state of the dog's arousal. Often we talk about dogs being over threshold, and the aspiration or the advice given is to keep dogs under threshold in order to help them not be reactive. Those acts that the dog has been the recipient of, so the behavior caused by an external stimulus, it can result in an aggressive behavior, an apprehensive behavior, an anxious behavior, an excited behavior, or a fear-based behavior. The thing to say is that in days gone past, when I started first training dogs and got off the arc in 2x2 formation, we didn't call behavior that was aggressive reactive. We didn't call a fearful dog reactive. We called them fearful and aggressive, and that tended to give us clearer information about the characteristics of the problem, not necessarily always the core root, but certainly the characteristics, and how we may then choose to deal with that behavior. Often the behaviors were labeled and misinterpreted. So a dog that was aggressive was probably actually fearful, or a dog that was fearful might be overexcited, or the dog that was interpreted as being fearful might be actually anxious or excited, and so forth. The thing to also to clarify to people, for me, the behavior should not be as a result of any direct interaction, instigation from another dog, or person. So if another dog jumps on my dog's head and my dog says, "Can you please stop doing that?" That's not, for me, reactivity. That's a dog exhibiting very natural, normal dog communication, dog-to-dog communication. And whilst it might not be politically correct or align with our beliefs about what a dog should be, it is very, very natural for a dog to act in that manner. Okay, so just some thoughts on there. And obviously, if you have questions about the presentation or considerations, by all means, ask. Okay, I have some very bold statements about reactivity. I'm going to have a slurp of my coffee before I start these. Some of which may make you feel slightly uncomfortable. Some of these statements may make you question why you've come to this group, but some of these statements may give you hopefully hope and inspiration for what is possible. So the first bold statement I'm going to make is reactivity does not have to be, or doesn't have to be, a life sentence. And that's one of the biggest takeaways I want you all to have, in that often you find when working with people that have dogs that are displaying behavior that's deemed as reactive, there's a bit of a mouthful there, often that the choice of solution or living with that dog's behavior is based on management. And also, whilst I think that management is a healthy way to interact with the dog and own a dog, I want the bare minimum of strategies to manage and protocols in place to manage my dog's behavior. And I want my dog to have the maximum amount of freedom and access to things that he wants in life that is appropriate for the dog and my lifestyle. I want to have a very few things that I have to manage, but in all dogs, there is always a level of management. The ideal would be sort of 20% management, maybe 10 to 20%. Anything more than that, and I want to be looking at other choices, whether it be education, whether it be training, whether it be socialization, and so forth and so forth. But I want to have the bare minimum amount of behaviors that I have to manage with my dog. Second thing is reactivity is not an illness, or I should say, or a condition. It is a term attached to and used to describe dogs' behavior that often, as I say, is natural. It may not be may not always be appropriate. It might sometimes be embarrassing. It might sometimes cause us to feel a level of anxiety. But the certain thing is not a condition specifically. It may be that your dog has a condition that's causing it to display reactive behavior, or fearful behavior, or apprehensive behavior, or aggressive behavior, and so forth. But the reactivity itself is a symptom, and we want to try and get to the root cause. If done correctly, you see differences quickly. My biggest frustration with talking to people when they have dogs that are reactive, or listening to a lot of thinking about reactive behavior, is the timeline attached to seeing a change in the dog's behavior. And that can often span from days to weeks to months to even years of training before you see any improvement or difference in the dog's behavior. The thing to enlighten you all, and I've had numerous questions, excuse me, on this specifically relating to the Dog Academy, was how long did we actually work with those dogs? And in all cases, it was 1 day or certainly less than 8 hours of interaction with those dogs, bearing in mind that we could only work with the dogs for a period of time, obviously because of the the welfare concerns about the dog. But the actual interaction with the dogs and the owners probably was about 8 hours at maximum, obviously with breaks and lunch, etc. So that wouldn't be a continuous 8 hours. You probably, if you actually hands-on dog training, I probably would guesstimate the longest we probably had was maybe an hour or 2 hours at most of actual interaction with the dogs without breaks, where they were, went back with a second person, or they were taken for a walk, etc., because we obviously had those concerns to deal with. So you could see the dramatic impact in the dog's behavior, certainly on that program, and certainly in my daily work, where I can make a huge amount of difference with the dogs quickly if we actually first and foremost identify the core root of the issue and give the owner the skills and the information to be able to view the dog differently and implement a strategy of behavior modification very, very quickly. A lot of reactivity is about perception, mindset, and mastering oneself. Excuse me. And when I say that, that takes accountability for the emotional Wi-Fi that our dogs will all tune into. Dogs, by nature, their makeup is one to connect with us, to feel what we feel, to read our body language, to look at our facial expressions, and learn to pick up on every single nuance of information that we are intentionally or unintentionally giving them. And as a result, a lot of their behavior can be a reflection of what we are feeling, thinking, seeing, responding to, which can result in both, reactive behavior, disengagement, frustration, excitement, joy. All those things can be caused by us and our mindset and where we are emotionally. And a lot of the improvement in dogs' behavior that is deemed reactive can be about the owner looking within to deal with their perceptions of the dog's behavior, their mindset, and obviously mastering those to move forward. Most dogs, and this is again another bold statement, most dogs are predisposed to reactivity. The biggest misconception and takeaway I would urge you all to have is the fallacy of having Lassie and Rin Tin Tin as the benchmark with which we judge and gauge all dogs. For me, that's one of the most damaging things in the human-dog relationship, that we have. We apportion so much to those images that often so many dogs are deemed problematic, naughty, disobedient, stubborn, aggressive, reactive, and so forth and so forth. And actually, they're just dogs that are trying to do the best they can in the environments we put them in with the information that we provide them. And when they have the right skills and they have the right information and we put in that foundation, hopefully they shouldn't display behavior that is inappropriate. And when I talk about the Lassie and Rin Tin Tin, the ironic thing, and I wrote an article about this, or a blog, to say that we have that image of Lassie and rescuing little Timmy from the well and pulling him out by a rope, and etc., etc. And the ironic thing is that Lassie, which was meant to be a female, was actually 5 male rough collies, all trained to do behaviors and tricks as your dogs can, and any dog can, to give them the illusion of the dog being almost having that psychic connection with its owner. And therein lies the problem, is that often it's that imagery and that belief system that we then see our own dogs not meeting up to, and we think our dog's the problem. In actual fact, it's our perception. As I said, most dogs are predisposed to reactivity. And I'm going to come on to that in a little bit more detail. And human beings have created reactivity in that we have attached a label to behavior that is often natural, is often very, very canine, might not be appropriate, might not be wanted, but it's very, very normal behavior given the dog's the circumstances. Final bold statement I'm going to make, and again I will elaborate over this over the 5 days, is counter conditioning. So CC, counter conditioning, and desensitization alone will not resolve reactivity. And those are 2 very common techniques used to deal with dogs that are reactive. I.e., counter conditioning is where you change the way the dog feels about the dogs or people approaching them or being near them. And desensitization is where you have it at a distance and you gradually introduce your dog that trigger. Effective techniques commonly used to deal with reactivity, but they alone will not resolve the issue because of some things that I'm going to share with you this evening, unless you take a holistic approach to dealing with reactivity. So if you have things there you want to question about what I just said, by all means save that to the end of the presentation, in which you can certainly query what I've said or share your thoughts.